fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Sec's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
The Mountain. Undeniably the most famous, most feared, and most revered motor racing circuit there is in all of Australia. What is there to say that hasn't already been said about this place? But it's 6.21 kilometers of high speeds, twisting corners, and walls inches away from the racing line. What better to complement that but these cars, GT1 specification vehicles. If modern GTEs are techno, these cars are heavy metal. They do not have the ABS systems. They do not have the advanced traction control. They are a little bit more about the driver, a little bit more about the displacement and the engines, less about the technology, the downforce. They're all about the driver. They are great to watch and a real challenge around here in OSR GT1 Challenge. My name is David Haynes, and joining me, our producer, Jay Kennedy. Jay, it's round 5 of this season, and it's a great turnout tonight.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's a really good turnout. Mount Panorama definitely always brings out the big crowd, and it's going to be a really, really fun night of racing tonight. We've got a real mixed bag in qualifying, extremely tight and close qualifying, but a very, very good turnout of drivers, and we should have a very, very action-packed race.
Yep, so qualifying underway right now. As you can see in the top left of your screen, 13 minutes left. And space is at a premium to set your fast lap around this circuit. So we head towards the race after this, which is going to be 20 laps. Both of our cars, the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1 and the Chevrolet Corvette C6R, are both 50% fuel tank limited, expecting a pit stop for fuel somewhere in this race tonight. You can see on the top right hand side of your screen there, on pole right now provisionally as it stands, this man, Josh Anderson, and he is in an Aston Martin DBR9. You can see right in front of him on track one of those Corvette C6Rs. He's going to back out of this lap, and he might have balked someone behind him there.
Yeah, possibly has balked. That in the background there is Thomas McMillan. So not sure if McMillan was on a fly or about to start a flying lap, but definitely would have been held up a little bit from that check-up there by Josh Anderson. Obviously deciding to go for another lap. We've seen some drivers have been able to make things work on their second flying lap. Other drivers just getting the one flying lap before their tyres are absolutely worn out. A driver that we could see move up the timing sheets on here though, Reece Gasol. We know how strong he is in the GTE cars, but he's looked pretty good so far tonight in practice and qualifying at the moment.
Yeah, the talent and the speed is definitely translated into this car. What on earth has happened there? That's Bo Albert, is it not?
Yeah, that was
Two
Bo
have
Albert.
come together. What had happened to Bo? Clearly, Reece, no time to react to that whatsoever. Neither did we. That caught me just as off guard as it seemed to have caught you.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that at all. And Bo Albert has not been enjoying this track at all. He doesn't quite enjoy Bathurst like a lot of other drivers in our field. It's a very, very popular track for obvious reasons in Australia and New Zealand, but Bo doesn't seem to have much enjoyment for the track, and that was a very, very heavy impact for him. He's back to the pits. He'll have to go for another lap, but he's not enjoying it out there at all tonight, and he's already said that this will probably be a drop week for him because he is really struggling to find pace.
Yeah, some people are here that aren't quite regulars to the series because they love this circuit, and some of the regulars maybe not quite as fond of this circuit, maybe not finding their rhythm here. It's a track that is, of course, all about confidence. I mean, all the way across the top of the mountain, it's walls either side, and it's high speeds in these cars and in any car as well. So you've really got to have that faith and that belief that the car's going to stick, and a balance to your setup that suits you.
There's a lot of compromise in the way that you set the car up as well. You want it to be really strong down the straights, but at the same time you want it to be very, very controlled across the top of the mountain. So you've got to find that fine balance between the two. I think we're going to see a fair bit of chopping and changing with different drivers and the way that some drivers set the car up. Simon Black crosses the line, no improvement there. Just seen Jack Boyd move into the top 10 with his last or latest lap as well. He'll be one to watch tonight as well. But at the moment, Josh Anderson, John Peasnick and Reece Gasul definitely the class of the field at the moment.
And certainly once we get to the race, just about anything can happen, especially with a pit stop sequence as well. I mean, someone could come from a long way back and find themselves on the podium if they stay out of trouble, if they have good race pace underneath them, and if their long run strategy is quick.
Yeah, 100%. And working out when you want to make that pit stop as well. We've seen last week the undercut didn't work as well as some drivers were expecting, and it caught a couple of drivers off guard when they did try and make that pit stop last week at Donington Park. So making sure you pit at the right time, understanding who's around you, saving fuel while you can, could be the key to getting a great result or being stuck in a horrible position come the end of the race.
No doubt. So qualifying, though, is still pretty important because passing over the top of the mountain is absolutely a scarcity. And then really, you've only got 2 or so good overtaking spots around the rest of the circuit, and one of them is right here into the chase. Of course, the fastest part of the circuit. Ashley Lear in 16th place right now. His highest speed he's reached in this session, 278.8 kilometers per hour. The fastest of anyone out there, though, I think Marie Hrushka, who's in 4th place, has got that Corvette well and truly trimmed out. She has reached 282.6 kilometers an hour as a highest speed trap speed in this session so far.
Just understeers as
Just
well.
as we look there. Yeah, the balance not looking so good there, but clearly she's 4th right now. In the remaining time in this session, she has to push, try and find an improvement of time out there, because there's already a nice, solid top 5 time in the charts. Ellen Holgerson trying to hold on to that. A couple corners later, couldn't keep it together. That was out of control for longer than it was ever in control.
Yeah, that was well and truly scary moment across the top of the mountain. Not where you want the car to start to misbehave at that point there. Adam Briggs, another driver that's been very consistent in this series too. He's about to start a flying lap. Guys at the front of the field all about to start flying laps as well. Interesting, John Peasnick. It's looking like he's doing a race run at the moment as opposed to qualifying, even though he's in 2nd position. That's a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect from that. Certainly watching Adam Briggs, the body language of the car is looking pretty good so far from your reigning OSR Formula 3 champion. This car's a bit of a different beast. It's got, let me think, maybe 3 times the engine displacement and maybe a third the downforce. But he's wrangled it into the top 10 and it's looking pretty smooth right now.
It looked pretty good up, climbing up the mountain. We'll see what it's like coming down. A bit of understeer through the dipper and would have had to get out of the throttle there. Make sure he didn't hit the wall, but for the most part the car looks like it's behaving a little better than some of the others we've seen so far in this qual session.
Yeah, a little bit of a wiggle on the outside of the elbow there, but he got it towards the apex without much trouble. It's generally going in the direction he's pointing it to go, which is in pretty stark contrast to what we briefly saw of Marie Hrushka, who is very quick in a straight line, but maybe not as confident through the medium speed corners as Adam Briggs could be. He's coming through just one more braking zone from here till he crosses the line. Can he improve on a 1 minute 57.5?
See what he can do. He doesn't need to find too much time to jump up a spot on one spot with about a 10th, but will not improve. Seen a few other very, very well-known drivers to our broadcasts here on SimSpeed. Madison Down and Jake Maloney have jumped out on the circuit as well. So as you said, this track definitely has brought out some drivers that are not regulars to this series. It'll be interesting to see how they go in these fairly difficult cars. They're not as easy to drive as what a lot of people would think. Very, very high power, as you said, very low downforce. but the lap times are incredibly quick. What did we say, about 2.5, nearly 3 seconds quicker than the GTEs when we had them here a few weeks ago in Sprint Series Australasia.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just in the straight line speeds and in the acceleration. They've got just a little bit more horsepower, not quite as efficient aerodynamics. So when you see one of these DBR9 GT1s, they look pretty wide, they look pretty planted through the corners.
Definitely aren't easy cars to master, these GT1s. Great to have GT1 thriving again in this side of the world, though. Thanks to the Red Pepper Racing crew for getting a bit of support back in the GT1 ranks, and obviously this as well helping. Been great to see the growth of the Thursday night races as this series has gone on. A few weeks ago we were fairly light on for numbers, but tonight we're up to what, 30, nearly 40 cars out on track, which is a great sight to see.
Yeah, that's just about all you'd need. So watching Wayne Hewitt was 18th place. That doesn't look quite right, that number. Doesn't improve it, but he's still going to have time for, I would say, 2 more laps.
Yep, not long left. He might go for another lap now. If he goes for one more now, he may not make it back in for another one after that. Craig Edwards, another driver that's been very consistent throughout this series. Actually told us post-race that he made a big error during his pit stop last week, so he was quite thankful that we missed that one on the broadcast. It did cut down the gap that he'd had at the front of the field. Doesn't improve on that lap. Might have one more chance to try and get himself up the timing sheet, so.
Yep, one last time out, despite that maybe pit stop error, is your leading points champion right now. Heading up the championship is Craig Edwards. So compared to some of the other people who've come into this race, just to give it a go because they enjoy the circuit, Craig Edwards is one of those drivers with a little bit more to lose in this round than some others have to gain. He's going to have to be careful.
Yep, it's about maximising as many points as he can while there's a few extra drivers in the field. It could work in his favour in some aspects as well, because some of the championship contenders that he's up against not having the best night as well. So be interesting to see how that all plays out and whether there is a big advantage for some of these drivers with this big field. Josh Anderson about to start another flying lap, and John Peasnick also about to start a flying lap. Reece Gasoul is also on a flying lap. So the top 3 at the moment are all starting flying laps. This is going to be a really interesting end of the session.
Yeah, with 1.5 tenths first to second right now, we won't know who's on pole until that checkered flag is done flying. Josh Anderson has got it right now, but Gasoul looked quick in practice. John Peasnick is quick in just about any GT car you can put him in. Marie Hrushka has had a win in this series. Craig Edwards has got 2. And never count out someone like Jackson Susan Harlow and Holgerson. It's all up for grabs still, even though a lot of drivers have only got 1 lap left.
Josh Anderson is done. He's hit the wall, so he will not improve on his time. So it comes down to Peasnick and Gasoul here. Marie Hrushka is also done, so it pretty much leaves those guys as well as Craig Edwards, who may challenge. Susan Harlow now also done. So it's going to come right down to these guys. Gasoul, at the moment, this lap's looked pretty good from him. A little bit of damage to the side of the car though, so possibly has hit the wall. We'll have to go for another lap.
Yeah, hard to know. Regardless, he's still pushing towards the line. Out the last corner, pretty tidy. This one isn't going to be quick. See if he has time to complete this lap. John Peasnick definitely has a chance.
Peasnick was the fastest in the practice session prior to this qualifying run. He did a 55.5, so a little bit off the pace from his practice time. Of course, could have run a little bit off the circuit. Oh, that's done for Peasnick. Just tried to get on the throttle a little too early, ran a little bit too wide, and into the wall. Second is the best that he can start, but he could still drop back to third. Adam Briggs is the next driver we'll focus on. He is also on a flying lap at the moment. Oh, and he's around 2.
Yeah, the track temperatures have risen about 5 degrees Celsius since that practice session, though, so that could account for the 2 or 3 tenths that we've seen someone like Peasnick or Josh Anderson drop off. And everyone pushing really, really hard right now, trying to improve their times. But the track grip just doesn't quite seem out there. Bo Albert from 16th, though, he'd be hoping to find a little something on this lap. Bit of a wiggle coming into the hairpin there. So he's not looked comfortable all session.
I've been very, very vocal about his displeasure for this track. He does not enjoy this track at all, of course. More suited to the European-style circuits. Races a lot of the GT stuff. So GT1
he likes Daytona.
He does like Daytona. Oh, there we go. That's done for Bo as well. So, he'll be disappointed with starting way back in the field. 16th. Of course, at Spa, he somehow stole pole, but tonight he's going to have a real tough ask from way back in the field in 16th. He'll be hoping for a little bit of attrition to help him up the field.
Certainly will be. He'll be hoping his setup's geared more towards the race and he can keep a clean head, stay out of trouble for the 20-lap race coming up in front of us. And obviously, as you can tell from the fact that our lap times are just underneath 2 minutes, it'll be a race that'll go around 40 minutes with 20 laps.
Bono about to cross the line, and that will be an improvement for him. Jumps up a spot into 29th position. One driver looks like left on a flying lap, and that is this man here, Reece Gardner, about to finish his final lap. Oh, big slide coming out of Murray's corner, and that probably cost him 3 tenths, which would have been enough to improve him maybe a spot, but qualifying is done.
He said last week these cars have got traction control, but it's only good once you're driving in a straight line. Coming out of the corners, it can't save you that much. As you said, everyone on a flying lap has completed it, so this is what your qualifying order looks like. This is how they're going to start the race. Josh Anderson has pole position, 1.5 tenths clear of John Peasnick, so they're on row 1. Row 2 is Peasnick's teammate Reece Gasol and Marie Hrushka. Row 3, Craig Edwards, points leader. Alongside him will be Jackson Suzlin Harlow. Row 4 is going to be Alan Holgerson and Thomas McMillan.
Row 5 is Adam Briggs with Jack Boyd alongside him. Ashley Lear and Matt Nethercote will start on row 6. Row 7, Guy Leach and Cameron Dance with Reece Gardner and Bo Albert, all the SimSpeed guys, all together 14th, 15th and 16th.
Yeah, they'll either have a good time or it'll end in tears for everyone.
17th
is Simon Black. 18th, Madison Down. I think he only got 1 or 2 laps in there. He could move up if he finds a rhythm in the race. 19th is Wayne Hewitt. 20th, Nils Sinkowski. Never looked comfortable in qualifying either in one of the rare Chevrolet Corvette C6Rs. It's a bit of an Aston Martin fest tonight. 21st is James Duckworth. 22nd, Nathan Huppets. 23rd, Damian Johnston. 24th, Sam Kay.
Then we got Chris Barnes and Jake Maloney on row 13 with Scotty Briscoe, Jeffrey Price on row 14, Troy DeBono and JC Richards on row 15 with row 16, Shane Evans and Oliver Fullerton.
And we've finally gotten to the bottom of this pretty deep grid. 33rd, Scott O'Keefe. 34th, Dane Warren. Another driver who could move up quite some way from where he is in qualifying. 35th, Hayden Dodman. 36th, Mitchell McLeod. 37th, Wayne Taylor. And 38th, Matt Hinks.
Not sure how many of those at the back end of the field there will take the grid, but good to see we're back to the rolling start this week after a little bit of a whoopsie last week around the start procedure. So drivers will have that short little run through the chase, get the green flag as they come across the start line. Looking forward to this one, a track that we all love, Mount Panorama. It's going to be a really, really interesting race, but it's, 10 or 12 different drivers that you could really say could win this race.
Yep, guaranteed we won't be bored for the next 40 minutes. There will be somewhere to affix our eyeballs, and we won't have enough of them, and we won't have enough cameras, and we won't have enough time, but that's how we like it. You look at that grid there, mostly Aston Martins, just a couple of Corvettes mixed in there, and plenty of good names to watch. Of course, all led by that beautiful, beautiful Porsche 911 GT3 Cup safety car.
Don't forget too, we do have live timing available on our website at simspeed.tv/live timing. All of our broadcast events here on SimSpeed have live timing available, so you can keep up to date with everything happening out on the track. Make sure you don't miss where your favourite driver you are supporting is, even if they're not on screen at the time.
Pace car pulls away, and so too does the field. Your front row there, Josh Anderson and John Peasnick. When will Josh Anderson decide to make the jump? He could leave a bit of space to the safety car now, try and jump before the last corner. He'll probably hold the field until the final corner, but we just don't know. Neither do the drivers behind and alongside him.
Yeah, interesting to see when he does decide to make that jump. Not much room between when the pace car pulls in and the final corner, but I think he's going to wait until the apex of the corner, across the start line, a little bit further up from the finish line, but the green flag flies and we are underway. And what a jump from Josh Anderson.
Yep, right on the apex he went, and now it's line astern for the teammates in JPR Racing. Looking back here, Craig Edwards has grabbed a position on Marie Hruska. In the background, it's not entirely clean, but no huge disasters. 2 cars, maybe 3 cars have gone straight on.
Yeah, Wayne Hewitt's in the kitty litter, the exit of Hell Corner. Another car involved there too. Possibly Damien Johnson it was. Yeah, it was. So, we've got another car around. Adam Briggs is around. That's a horrible, horrible place to be located.
Yeah, on the inside of the corner, facing the wrong way. That's a horrible start. He won't like that whatsoever. He didn't qualify poorly, and now he has dropped all the way to the back of the field. Up the front, though, Craig Edwards has grabbed 1 position at the expense of Marie Hruska, who's now back into 5th place. Those are your only changes in the top 8. From there on down, there's been a little bit more reordering of the field. Hruska might take a while in the Corvette to settle in. Maybe the Aston Martins are a little bit smoother off the start. Certainly Jackson Suslin-Harlow behind, starting to look a bit menacing.
It definitely is looking like he's fairly strong and comfortable in the car at the moment. Got another car around. Troy de Bono as well has had an issue across the top of the mountain. We'll get some replays up for you very, very soon. But Cameron Dance tucked right in underneath the rear wing of Matthew Nethercote. This could be a move here into the chase.
Yep, maybe, but behind that is side-by-side action as well. Is that Reece Gardner in there? It is. So Madison down, who thought might come through the field a little bit. He's grabbed position at the expense of Reece Gardner, and now Nils Sinkowski, who's already up 3 positions, is queuing up to try and take another one away from Southpaw Racing.
Yep, so a fair bit of action in that first lap as well, but Josh Anderson now has lost a little bit of that lead that he had at the start of this race, but I think we might pick up some replays and try and dissect how the start of that race actually unfolded and why we saw so many cars off at the start.
Yeah, certainly the first corner, and also what happened to Adam Briggs. That'd be an interesting one to see. Here comes a modem simulation replay, and they put up a nice video on their Facebook page today that you should go check out after this broadcast.
Is that because you're in it?
Yeah, they got my good side. My left side. So here we are, looking in the middle of the pack at the restart. 3 wide, that's always going to be a trouble zone. And that's where they've come together with Wayne Hewitt. He's had to go straight on, and is that Troy de Bono, who is...
was Damien Johnson slow?
Damien Johnston. So of course, once they're 3 wide, it's difficult to get your visibility. What's Adam Briggs?
Oh, McMillan, contact.
Being tagged. Yeah, by McMillan, and there was... His nose was still just to the inside, and then later in the corner, Briggs has tried to take the apex, and it's a poor bit of racing there, and unfortunately, it's cost Adam Briggs quite a lot of positions.
Try and pick up what has happened to Troy de Bono as well. in this little first phase of the race. It's on the replay, so let's see if we can pick it up. Here we go. Coming down through Skyline by the looks of this. Has had an issue. And we saw this a lot in the warm-up session. Oh, that's a huge impact. Number 10 car, Scotty Briscoe, also involved there. Heavy contact there too. Jeffrey Price also had to back up and have a second go at that. So that spread out the rear of the field there. Sam Kay now just getting past Chris Barnes as well. So a fair bit of passing back in the field, but at the front of the field, John Peasnick not quite able to get that gap closed to Josh Anderson like I would have thought, but looks very, very strong up and down the mountain, just loses a bit of pace across the top.
Yeah, it was 3/10 last lap we looked. It's 3/10 just about again. And Anderson still holding on to that lead, but he is not skipping away. Peasnick is looking good in race trim, and then of course behind that is Gasul still in third. Craig Edwards has got fourth. Brushka's now settled in better into fifth, pulled a bit of a gap over Jackson Susan Harlow. He's in a little bit of his own no man's land. Of course, plenty of drama happening, Jay.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Barnes has had an incident. We saw that pass get made just before by Sam Kay, so something's happened to Barnes here through Griffin's Bend. Just up on the curb. You can't ride that curb. It definitely will unsettle the car a little bit too much, so fortunate for Chris, he's back in the pits and out of this race, sadly. But Jack Boyd is a man on a move at the moment. He's trying to get past Alan Holgerson, and Alan hasn't looked as strong as we may have thought. His qualifying pace wasn't too bad, but at the moment, looks like he might give up position here to Boyd, and Ashley are also closing in on these guys too.
Yeah, Holgerson was in the top 3 of the championship standings not too long ago, and now he finds himself in 8th and under a bit of pressure. There's not a car's length from him back to Boyd and then another car's length back to Lear. They are properly stacked together, and here comes Lear to the inside. He throws the nose down late, can't get it done, backs out of it, but he's letting them know that he's there.
This is a real good opportunity for these guys that have thought long-term in this race to start planning out how they're going to save fuel, work out the fuel strategy, understand what they can do to get this race or gain positions when it comes time for that pit stop. Just noticing too, Reece Gardner down 7 positions. He's struggling in that car, and he also hasn't registered an official lap time in this race. So I'm wondering if he's got a penalty of some sort and is having to come into the lane to serve that, whether it be a black flag or maybe a meatball flag from something happening at the start of the race, because he's well and truly off the pace.
Yeah, I guess we'll know in due time. Watching this battle here, McMillan in 7th and 8th here. Alan Holgerson's now got a bit of a queue forming behind him. Jack Boyd, then Ashley Lear. Behind that, Matthew Nethercote and Cameron Dance. Holding them up ever so slightly.
A little bit of cork in the bottle effect at the moment. So Holgerson, Boyd, Lear, Nethercote was about 1.5 seconds back from Lear last lap, but now he's right on the tail as well. So we're going to have 7 or 8 cars all in a very, very tight train by the time we get to the chase here. And McMillan could be the one to lose out here, because all of these guys are getting double, triple draft. McMillan trying to lead this train, and he's going to get past before they even get into the chase.
Yeah, great run from Holgerson out of Forest Elbow. Goes to the right-hand side, and he's now well and truly clear. Holgerson's quick in a straight line, and now he leads the conga line. Jack Boyd's having a look at McMillan. Can't do anything about it. McMillan trying to come back at Holgerson.
Oh,
not
big
quite
slide.
sure that's going to work. Big tank slapper from McMillan.
Also just seeing on the timing, Sinkowski's around up at the top of the mountain, so something's happened to him, but this is an intense fight here between these 6 cars now, and here comes Lear to come on by Jack Boyd. See if he can get this move done into Hell Corner, and he can. We're going to go to the front of the field because Peasnick, we said he couldn't quite get it done. Around the outside, move done before Griffin's Bend. And Josh Anderson has to back out of it, but Peasnick's run wide, and here comes Gasul to come back through.
Yeah, around the outside is always so difficult there. Peasnick tried to squeeze Anderson down. Anderson was not going to back out of it. He knew he had the high ground there and he held on to it. In the end, it's Peasnick that loses out. Gasol comes through, and now Craig Edwards and Marie Hrushka are back in the picture. This is the closest Edwards has been to the lead in quite a few laps. This pressure is costing.
Yep, definitely, and Lear has held on to that position from Boyd. And here comes Cameron Dance on Matt Nethercote. So we've got some really intense battles all the way through the field. But I'm just noticing too, a car very, very slow. That's Maloney. And he's in the wall. That is race over for Jake Maloney.
Unfortunate for Jake Maloney. Modem simulation replay. Taking a look. He's coming up towards the cutting. What happens here? It's a difficult twisting braking zone in any car. And he just goes wide and clobbers the outside wall, and that's suspension damage just about instantly.
Yeah, that's why he's decided to just pull it over the edge of the circuit, make sure that he's not in anyone's way. Coming back live, and Gasol is attacking Josh Anderson here. Reece Gasol looks most likely at the moment. Last time by was the fastest car out on track other than Jackson Susan Harlow. And here comes Marie Hrushka. Not quite close enough.
Big Vet can't do anything into the final corner this time, but we know she's very, very quick in a straight line. Cast her eyes back again at this battle, 7th on down. These guys will not quit. Holgerson is leading this little train, and suddenly Macmillan wants it back, and then behind them, Ashley Lear, Jack Boyd, Matthew Nethercote, Cameron Dance is on a charge as well.
Boyd!
Jack Boyd.
I'm wondering, was that contact with Dance there? It's definitely contact. See if we can pick it up. And, seeing too that Bo Albert has come into the pits. That was Matthew Nethercote up the inside, and probably gave a little bit of room on the inside for Dance, and Boyd probably didn't realise it was about to go 3 wide and covered the line. Also, something else has happened to Matt Nethercote now. What has happened to Nethercote? Madison Down as well has had an incident.
I said we were not going to be short of things to look at. He must have damaged his suspension in that issue. Yep. He's come up towards Griffin's Bend, and it's just not wanted to brake, not wanted to turn. His Madison Dance, well, that's wanted to brake. The rear's wanted to break away as he's turning into the cutting. It's difficult. It's got that little kink on the way in, and you've got to brake and turn at the same time. And either the brake balance, the aero balance, something hasn't worked. It means we've lost a few cars from this battle, but it hasn't stopped Holgerson and Macmillan.
Wow. Holgerson just maybe missed a gear shift or something there, and a little bit checked up, and Macmillan just ran to the rear.
Maybe had to get out of the throttle to avoid hitting the outside wall, and that caught Macmillan off guard. 2 of them carry on as if it didn't happen. Macmillan looks to the inside, and is this the Fusion Sim Racing car of Reese Gardner having an even tougher run of it? Unfortunately, it is for him. We look back up 7th and 8th place. Macmillan is gloves off the whole race, start to finish. We thought he was holding up the train just a little bit. Now Holgerson is through, and maybe those drivers were just all that equal.
That is probably more likely, that the whole field is really, really even for pace, and just using the draft advantage. Here comes Gasol again. Around the outside of Griffin's Bend does not work, and he's going to lose all of that momentum he had. I've just seen too, James Duckworth is back in the pits too. So a few drivers taking this opportunity now to make an early pit stop. There is a spare car available for each of these drivers too, so if they do have a little bit of damage, not a bad ploy to come in and get some damage fixed. Get yourself back out there and get a bit of clear track as well. Get your focus again back into the race.
And that action we just saw in Griffin's Bend, that is absolutely typical. Holding the inside line, such a strong defensive move. Macmillan side by side with Holgerson. How did this... Is this going to end in tears? It just might. Ashley Lear behind doesn't know what to think. This is not a section of the circuit you go side by side. And what is it about Thursday nights on SimSpeed? People want to give it a shot.
It's good fun racing, and you know that the guys you are racing you can usually trust. There's a fair bit of competitive juices out there tonight, and Macmillan back through on Holgerson, and just behind you can see Cameron Dance starting to hold up Madison down. Of course, we saw that incident for Madison before where he had a big lockup. Interesting you said that there may have been something with the aero balance. That was the first time this entire race that Madison didn't have a car in front of him when he made that mistake. His Dance almost hits the wall at the exit of Forest Elbow, and he's going to lose a spot here for sure.
Yeah, Top speed through the track for Dance, 282. For Madison Down, 290. He must have that thing trimmed out. Look at him go in a straight line. Dance is, you know, back in the past before they even get to the braking zone. Maybe that's why the thing looks a handful in the slow corners under the brakes. There must be no rear wing at all on.
Yeah, definitely. He's just gone for out-and-out pace and not worried about what it behaves like across the top of the mountain, as you just see on Holgerson in the pits, possibly to get a little bit of damage fixed, and that scary moment across the top of the mountain may have caused a few issues for him. Come back to the front of the field, still as they were on the previous lap, but they have closed that gap back up again. These guys are going at it, and going at it very, very hard.
Yeah, top 5 as it was. Josh Anderson is still leading, placing his car defensively everywhere he needs to. Gasul and Piesnik, JPR teammates. Rushka in 5th, picking up a bunch of understeer in the cutting there. What damage has she put on that car? It's not looking good. It might be time for her to bring that down onto pit lane. It's Jackson Susan-Harlow, who was in a no man's land between the battle for the top 5 and the battle for 7th, now closes in just a little bit. He's been the silent assassin here. We haven't looked at him, but he's still been there, not too far adrift from the lead of the race. And this is that battle for 7th behind there. McMillan has been closed up by Lear. Alan Holgerson's taken the pit stop to try and get away from this kind of traffic. We'll see where these guys are relative to that once everyone's taken their pit stops soon.
McMillan's so heavy on the rear brake that it just slid down through the S's, just held on by the looks of it. And talking about Holgerson, he's come out with traffic, so he's come out just behind Bo Albert and just ahead of Guy Leach, who has also pitted. So this guy's all in decent spots by the looks of things. We go back to Marie Hrushka because she's struggling at the moment. I'm going to say she's going to come into the pits here. Right on cue she does, because that car does not look like it's handling all that great after that little bit of contact into the wall.
Yeah, sensible call. The front right suspension, the aero, whatever it'd be, probably the steering wheel, probably not straight. And Ashley Lear also decides on it. What is it about driving around Thomas McMillan that makes people want to jump into the pit lane? Maybe it's going too wide half of the lap, feel like it costs them some time. Start at lap 9, we're not at halfway yet, but quite a few drivers are aiming for an undercut or aiming to get out of traffic. Reese Gasul is aiming to try and find a way past Josh Anderson, but the only place that these JPR racing cars get close into Griffin's Bend, Anderson knows exactly how to defend there. You can't go around the outside because it's a public road, it's got a crown to it. The inside line is banked the correct direction, the outside line is banked away. You just can't carry the momentum around the outside there. Yeah,
it's really, really tough to go too wide through Griffin's Bend. But one thing I'm wondering right now, we know how good Piesnik and Gasul are in the GTE, GT3 cars at not only driving fast, but also managing fuel. Wondering if Gasul and Piesnik are doing that right now. Piesnik's had an issue, and he's hit the wall, and hit the wall hard. That is heavy damage.
Yeah, from Skyline down towards the Dipper, he's had a moment. He's hit the wall hard. This will force his hand on his strategy. It'll cost him a bit of time. Here's the modem simulation replay. What's he done? He's just been wide of the apex there, and once you're off, you're in the marbles, that wall comes towards you very, very quickly. It's clearly messed up the steering, and you can see a lot of body panels bent out of shape on the left-hand side as well. They're going side by side for the lead. They are. Anderson has the inside. Gasul's tried to go around the outside. It hasn't worked. You can't go around the outside of Josh Anderson. Might expect both of the JPR cars into the pits sometime soon.
Right now.
Craig Edwards will continue on. He'll assume second place. It's carnage out there.
Yeah, Bo Albert, Ashley Lear have had an incident across the top of the mountain, up through the Dipper. We'll see if we can pick up what has happened with these guys, but it looks like Bo Albert may have had an incident, and then Ashley Lear's come up with nowhere to go, and there we go. Just as expected, there's unfortunate, because Bo was trying to do the right thing, continue on and give enough room, but probably just came over a little bit. And then that rejoin from Lears just made contact with Cameron Dance. So
such a narrow point of the track.
Yeah, really, really tough when you see guys running too wide through that point. We come back live Simon Black, Jack Boyd, both of those guys have not pitted, but have a look at who is right behind these guys. Marie Hrushka and Jackson Suzlin Harlow. Here comes Hrushka to try and get some positions back. Oh, and contact!
Oh, Jack Boyd will just carry on. Might have squeezed down towards the apex a little bit too close. No, he's got damage there. The vets are quick in a straight line. Hrushka had the inside line there. I'm not sure I can say much more about that. Here's the two JPR cars. They've taken their pit stops. They're back out. All the panels pointing the correct directions. Reece Gasoul ahead of his team leader, John Peasnick. Anderson still staying out. What's the pace like for these guys? Is he at risk of an undercut, or is the pace just too similar? Because, of course, Peasnick lost a little bit of time picking up that damage. Anderson, still your race leader.
Yeah, 27.5 second lead over Reece Gasoul. So he's probably got to feel confident about that. But see if we can get some more accurate times as these guys come across the line after their first flying lap. But Anderson crosses the line, 10 down, 10 to go. This race has flown by. It's amazing to think we've already done half the race. It's been so much going on in this one.
Yeah, precisely. And here's Marie Hrushka looking to get another position back. Simon Black doesn't fight it too hard. The top speed for the vet there. Again, 292 kilometers an hour. That is mightily quick in a straight line for those vets.
Gap between first and fourth. Fourth being Reece Gasoul. Was still the same, 27.3 seconds. So still maintaining that gap. Craig Edwards is losing a fair bit of ground to Reece Gasoul and John Peasnick as well. So Edwards is 3.5 seconds back. Of course, he tucked in behind John Peasnick after Peasnick's little incident, then had to wait until Conrad straight before he could get past. So did lose a fair bit of ground there. But I think Edwards at the moment will be quite happy just to be out on track by himself, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about what anyone else is doing. Of course, championship leader, to be looking to get as many points as he can right now.
Yeah, look, a top 5 for him in this race be just perfect. That'd suit him just fine. There's plenty of racing still to come in this season. More races he can win. If he just survives this one, he's already doing better than his rivals in this championship. Marie Hrushka, Bo Albert, Alan Holgerson. So a top 5 and ahead of those guys and girl would be just fine for Craig Edwards. He doesn't really need to fight Josh Anderson, Madison Down, Reece Gasoul or John Peasnick in this one.
Oh, Madison Down will likely be behind these guys after the pit stop. He's only just ahead of Reece Gasoul at the moment, so still yet to pit is Down. Also, Anderson is going to continue on for another lap, so probably going to go as long as he can on fuel, you guess now, if Anderson didn't come in that time.
In front of him to worry about. The guys further behind, they had to worry about that kind of thing. Anderson, it's all clean track in front of him. If he pits, he's just putting himself potentially back into some more traffic. Staying out is clean traffic for Anderson, but pitting was clean traffic for the likes of Gasoul.
Yep, exactly right. And Gasoul and Peasnick do have Madison Down just ahead, but I don't think Madison will put up too much of a fight. In saying that, the pace of Down is pretty reasonable. Peasnick, though, is the fastest car out on track, so the gap between Peasnick and Gasoul catching up to Anderson, it is closing, but I don't think it's enough to worry him at the moment. It's staying between 27 and 27.5 seconds, so we're still probably going to see Gasoul and Anderson come out pretty much nose to tail, but the big thing will be whether Anderson has been able to save as much fuel as what Gasoul could while he was tucked under that rear wing.
Yeah, it was 28.9 seconds start to end of the lane for John Peasnick and his service. He's 28 seconds behind Josh Anderson. So for Gasoul, Peasnick and Anderson, it's still going to be pretty close, but you'd have to think that Anderson has the upper hand. He's been clean all race. He hasn't had to take his fast repair already like John Peasnick.
Yeah, exactly right. He hasn't had to do anything in that aspect, so he's in a decent spot at the moment is Anderson. We'll see what the gap is after he comes in the lane. Possibly get 2, maybe 3 more laps to the tank. Seeing something's happened to Marie Hrushka though. Marie Hrushka's out of the race.
That, I think could well be her race done. She's already had that car repaired. What has she done here? Over the top of the mountain, into the great corner, towards Skyline. Where has this happened? Skyline is such a difficult corner in any car. Sometimes you come over that crest just a teeny bit too quick. You know you're going to have an accident for a long time before it happens. But there, it looks like she's done what Bo Albert did and just ground the car out on that curb. So Anderson from the lead into the pit lane gets at least one panel repaired there. Here comes Reese Gasol. This is who he's in a battle with. So Anderson is rolling. Yeah, it is a long stop, maybe 2 seconds longer for Anderson than it was for Gasol. They're going to be side by side. Anderson is going to jump all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit because he wants that inside line for Griffin's Bend. Gasol has the momentum, closing it up. The gap, just a couple tenths of a second, but Anderson holds onto it.
Just timed that perfectly, did Josh Anderson. Just going to hold on at the moment. Of course, no tyres taken in these stops. The tyres will last a full race, so won't be too much of an issue around cold tyres. The tyres will still be fairly warm with that stop. But Reese Gasol has a bit of momentum, have a little bit of a psychological advantage coming out and just closing that gap down ever so slightly. But have a look at how strong Anderson's car is across the top here. Have a look at how much that gap is stretching out.
Yeah, no doubt, for real. He's very quick across the top of the mountain here, very confident. You said it earlier that the JPR cars looked like they're a tiny bit quicker in a straight line, a tiny bit more trimmed out. It could also be to do with some gear ratios. If you've got slightly shorter ratios, you might be a little bit more effective over the top of the mountain, getting closer to hitting the rev limiter down here. There'll be a little bit of a slipstream for Gasol. But Anderson has come out flying on that outlap, done everything he needed to do.
One thing about that, though, is you do use a bit more fuel if you're bouncing it off the limiter as opposed to not quite reaching the limiter. So that'll be interesting to see how the fuel numbers go for Anderson. That's probably partly why he had that longer stop too. Craig Edwards is in the pit, so that is going to cleanse our field. We're going to have 7 laps to go. It's going to be an out-and-out sprint.
Yeah, your top 5 as they are right now. You can see it. Josh Anderson, Reese Gasol, John Peasnick. Couple seconds back is Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. And then it's Alan Holgerson. We said that a top 5 for him would be a good result. That's what he's aiming for right now. Behind that is Guy Leach, then Madison Down, then Simon Black. And your top 10 rounded out by this battle between the black, orange and red cars. Sam Katakazinos versus Cameron Dance, and Dance is looking to put himself into the top 10.
Yeah, Reese Gardner not far away as well, as would lunge up the inside from Dance and he'll get that move done fairly easily, and Gardner might come through as well. Interesting that it's car 6, car 16 and car 26 in a line.
Yeah, I don't know, is this a bingo game? Do we get them all in a line there?
Anderson needs to drop down behind these guys in the 36.
For sure. So Dance pretty convincingly through there into the top 10, ahead of Sam Katakazinos, and then Reese Gardner is closing that up a little bit. Someone around the track has just blown an engine. I can hear my spidey senses tingling, but not sure exactly who, and it could be someone just idling on the pit lane. Reese Gardner's going to need a little bit more to come back at this battle. Dance had to have a look at defending into Griffin's Bend there. There's quite a variance of setups for the Aston Martin DBR9 out there, for sure. Some are looking a lot quicker in a straight line than others. And my example here is that the top speed for Josh Anderson in the trap, 273. For Reese Gasol, 286. Some of that's going to be down to the slipstream, but there's other factors at play as well.
Yeah, definitely right. There's a lot of factors that could be influencing that. The gear ratio is definitely one. Just looking too at the timing sheets, we saw Craig Anderson come in from the lead. Craig Edwards come in from the lead. Surprising how long his pit stop. I think he may have had an issue in his pit stop again. Look at that pit stop time.
Speeding in pit lane.
Yep. No, you're right.
Because Anderson, 11 seconds. Craig Edwards, 26 seconds. It's exactly 15 seconds longer. 15 seconds is what they hold you extra in your box for if you're speeding in pit lane between the entry and your pit box. Simon Black from 9th place is around, not moving. Here comes Modem Simulation Replay. Jay, what has happened to him?
This looks like some sort of breakage of the car because...
Damaged a radiator earlier on, and now it's overheated and popped on him. He just goes to the left. That's a mechanical problem, technical problem of some kind. The brakes all lock up, and he's just sat there. What does the wheel do in this situation? Because he started going to the left. Well, it's just dead straight there, isn't it?
It's not moving at all. It's still not even turning even after the damage to correct it. So there's some sort of tech issue there. It goes there finally.
Carbon monoxide in the cockpit.
Driver's passed out, unfortunately. Also seeing Jackson Susan Harlow has dropped off the timing sheets too, so something's happened to him. He's had some sort of tech issue as well. So, Madison Down has just got past Guy Leach, but Guy's not letting him go. Yeah, the two Corvettes, the two highest placed Corvettes, going to have a very, very tight battle going down Conrad Straight here.
Yeah, I'll pull out my big book of cliches. When the mountain bites, it bites hard. Mountain gods, whatever. Take nothing for granted here. It's got no runoff in the places where you've got to be absolutely committed. And then just weird things happen in the other bits of the circuit as well. Attrition has been bizarre, to say the least, here, and it always is, no matter what cars we bring and we broadcast here on SimSpeed. If it's Porsches, if it's GTEs, if it's GT3s, if it's GT1s, if it's V8 supercars, you can never be certain until they cross the finish line who's going to finish where.
Yeah, 100%. Whatever you think probably is impossible to happen, there's always a legitimate chance of happening at this circuit. We've seen some amazing, strange fights, battles, and incidents at this circuit over the years here on SimSpeed. Reece Gardner did get past Sam Kay, but he's going to come back past side by side into the chase. Sam is through. Reece did not put up any fight at all, and I'm wondering if Reece has got an issue because he was on the brakes very early.
He's going quite slow here. He's lost a second, 2 seconds. He's coming into the pit, so there has been a problem.
He's hit the wall
for Reece Gardner. The front left is looking a little bit deranged on that. He comes in quite aggressively to the pit lane. Reece Gardner, that's unfortunate for him. Obviously worked his way into the top 10 there. He was up 5 positions, and now he's going to have to get some kind of service done. 4 laps to go. Our eyes glance towards the lead, where Josh Anderson has 1.3 seconds over Reece Gasol, who has 1.3 seconds over his teammate in John Peasnick. And then they are miles clear of Craig Edwards, nearly 20 seconds. This top 3 is a proper breakaway.
Yeah, definitely is. Of course, that's been exacerbated by that penalty in the pit stop. Interesting too, you talked about the attrition rate. We had 32 cars actually take the start. We've only got 14 left in the race. Incredible how many drivers have been involved in incidents and had issues in this race. It is a tough track anyway, but these cars, this track, a bizarre combination, a combination that I'd love to see in real life, but it hasn't got
I'd like to see
for
GTEs here. I want to see that Ford GT give it a proper go around here.
It'd be great. It would be fantastic to see.
Who's the gentleman who's got a customer car for Le Mans? Surely he can give it a fang around here if he feels like throwing his money at it. Ben Keating?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I'd love to see.
Someone will tell me. Someone watching will know exactly what I am talking about.
You are right. Someone will know. I know I don't know, so I won't say anything. But this battle at the front of the field has started to stretch out a little bit, but I'm wondering if Gasol and Peasnick are playing a little bit of a long game here, thinking about maybe applying some pressure to Anderson, forcing him to use a bit more fuel. They might be thinking he's going to be borderline on fuel because he's been in the lead of the race the entire time he's been on the track. So it's going to mean, of course, that you do use more fuel, but really have enough to make it home. It's going to be interesting to see if he is completely fine or whether there's just so much pace in Anderson's car at the moment. He's looking strong either way.
Yeah, one of the shots we saw of Reece Gasol there, the rear was starting to hang out just a little bit. Sometimes a quick setup also chews through the tyres. He locks up the left front as well. driving it well, driving it cleanly, but it's not as smooth, not as planted as it was before. Anderson is a weapon over the top of the track. I called it out as 1.3 seconds earlier. He brought it out to 1.6. Now in the straight line, Reese Gasol is quicker. You can see it on your screen. He closes it down a couple tenths down Conrod. So this bit down the bottom of the circuit, Reese Gasol prefers. Josh Anderson has got all of the setup, all of the springs, all of the downforce, how he wants to be flat out from about Griffin's Bend to Forest Elbow. Peasnick, what's happened? What's Peasnick lost 12 seconds?
He's hit the wall there by the looks of it, has he?
He's still dropping further and further down the time. He's used up his fast repair already. I didn't see it on screen. I didn't see it out the window. I just saw it on my timing screen that suddenly he wasn't there with Anderson and Gasol.
There we go. Actually looped it around at Forest Elbow, so get up on our modem simulation replay here. Just a lock up of the front left, and yeah, the momentum can car around. Also seeing Guy Leach has come back into the pits for another pit stop, so unfortunate for Guy to have to come in and make a secondary pit stop. Of course, he did pit very, very early, so possibly had no choices. Almost run out of fuel. Back out on the track again. Also, Cameron Dance has made two pit stops in this race as well, but Peasnick will be pretty upset with that. And Gasol, just noticing too, this lap he hasn't lost anywhere near as much ground as he had on the previous one. It's going to get within about half a second coming down Conrod Straight this time.
Yeah, it was about 1.4, 1.5 seconds the gap at this point on the circuit last lap around. Now it's 1.1. Gasol is quick in a straight line. He got the power down pretty well. Expect that gap to definitely come down under a second before they get on the brakes into the chase.
There you go. It's already under a second. So it's going to close up over the next 2 laps. Will there be enough left for Gasol to take the win away from Josh Anderson? This is going to be a nail-biting finish between these two. Also noticing Neil Sankowski in the pits as well for a secondary pit stop. So, few drivers have been caught out by the circuit, essentially. The circuit has absolutely bitten hard tonight.
It's one of those tracks. It's up there with the Nürburgring, with Circuit de la Sarthe for Le Mans, where people say, first you're racing against the track, and then you're racing against the other teams. For something like the Bathurst 1000 or the Bathurst 12 Hour, to finish is an achievement. But look at this gap. 4 tenths as they come into Griffin's Bend. Reese Gasol has closed that up. He'll be occupying more and more of the mirrors of Josh Anderson. What's happened to the pace of Anderson, and how has Reese Gasol turned it on in the last 2 laps? Is he going to have enough time? Are we going to see the battle that we really, really want to see for the lead of this race?
Well, interesting, the pace of Anderson has not changed from the lap previous. The last 3 laps has done low 1 minute 57s, but the last lap by Gasol has just pulled something special. Done a 56.8. That is one of the fastest laps in the race. He's faster than almost everyone else in the field. And look at how close he is this time. It's only 6 tenths of a second. He's getting really close.
Yeah, indeed, and we know... Oh, look, he nearly did what his teammate did. The rear was not stable coming into Forest Elbow there. That's cost him a little bit of the time. He'll still be quick down the mountain here, as that cost him a chance at having a look on the last lap. The gap is now just back underneath 1 second again. It's at 8 tenths right now. It's coming towards 7 tenths. Gasol needs to be perfect, inch perfect every corner from here into the checkered flag.
And that will happen next time by. This is the final lap of the race. Anderson leads by a second. Let's see what the time is this time for Anderson. 57.1, a 57.4 for Gasol, so he's lost a bit of ground back. Will Anderson be able to hold on? 21 corners left for him to do it.
It'll be the chase or nothing for Gasol, surely. Going up the mountain, up Mountain Straight here. The gap, you can see it on your screen. It's coming down, but it's where it was about this time last lap. Gasol didn't make any progress on lap 19. Now it's all down to the last lap.
Still not quite able to get the car gripped up through the cutting, and he's losing a little bit more ground. Josh Anderson looking a lot stronger now, and Gasol might be done. He doesn't look like he's got anything to respond from Josh Anderson at the moment. I think the tyres are gone.
Yeah, giving it everything is Reece Gasol. Commendable effort, and he's making Josh Anderson work for it. But it's just not looking promising enough right now. Anderson's going to come out of Forest Elbow and only have 2 braking zones left to go. There's just not enough time for Gasol. He's more than a second behind coming out of Forest Elbow. It's a miracle from here. He'll close it up. But Josh Anderson has been inch perfect, unflappable all race. Gasol's had more pace. So is John Peasnick, but they just haven't converted, been consistent enough. Now they'll just be the final corner to go for Josh Anderson. Vendaval Sim Racing, his first outing in this series, I do believe, and it's going to be from pole position to convert for the win for Josh Anderson. Reece Gasol made him work for it. The gap in the end, just 0.7 of a second. It's exactly what we wanted to see from the lead battle. And then rounding out the podium, it's going to be John Peasnick, an adventure-filled race for him, but he makes it to the end, and that is better than can be said for some tonight.
It looks like we're only going to have 13 finish the race in the end. Craig Edwards come home in 4th. He'll be absolutely ruining that penalty in the pit stop because he would have ended up getting past John Peasnick after his issues. So he possibly could have had a podium there, but he'll be happy to get a good chunk of points around a very, very tough circuit tonight. Alan Holgerson finishes in 5th. He'll be good for his championship fight as well. Madison Down running in 6th. Guy Leach will come home in 7th. But a few of our other regulars a little bit further back in the field, and quite a few of our regulars that will end up with DNFs tonight. That's going to be very, very interesting for the championship later on in the season. Drivers forced to use a drop round for this one.
Yeah, the point schedule is absolutely punishing towards inconsistency. You can hold a lot of ground by just finishing in the top 10. Here comes Sam Katakazinos for Team Bushfink Racing. He'll get 9th place. They've absolutely turned it on. I'm nearly out of breath from this. Have we said much about Jeffrey Price all race? I don't think we have, but he's going to get into the top 10. Yep,
and that's a great effort to finish in the top 10. When you look at the names that we've had in the field, to finish in the top 10 in the class of driver that we've had is pretty impressive effort, and well done to Jeffrey to finish in 10th position. Stenkowski finishes in 11th, and our last driver who will make it home will be Oliver Fullerton. And Wayne Hewitt also finished the race in 13th position, but 1 lap down. What an unbelievable night of racing we've had. We'll run through the race results.
Yep, so your winner, Josh Anderson, great result for him. 2nd place is Reece Gasol. Rounding out the podium, 17 seconds back off the lead, is John Peasnick. 4th place, Craig Edwards will pretty comfortably hold on to that championship lead. It was the race that he needed, even if it wasn't the race that he wanted. 5th place is Alan Holgerson. 6th is Madison Down. 7th is Guy Leach, bringing a little bit more of that Chevrolet Corvette flair. And 8th place is Cameron Dance. He can be happy with that, up 16 places from where he started.
Going to the rest of our finishes and the start of our DNFs. Sam Kay in 9th with Jeffrey Price in 10th. Neil Stankowski in 11th. Oliver Fullerton in 12th. Wayne Hewitt did finish 1 lap down in 13th position. And then the rest of the field is DNFs. JC Richards, Simon Black, who we saw had some sort of wheel issue, and did try to get back out on the circuit, but decided it was not safe to do so. Reese Gardner also DNF in that one. Jackson Susan Harlow, Chris Barnes, Marie Hrushka, Thomas McMillan, Ashley Lear, Jack Boyd, Bow Albert. There's names that we would expect in the top 10, all DNFing that race. Nathan Huppets as well DNF'd, with James Duckworth, Matt Nethercote, Jake Maloney, Scotty Briscoe, Adam Briggs, Damien Johnson, Troy DeBono, Shane Evans and Scott O'Keefe also all DNFing from the race.
Wow, just wow. Take 2 seconds. Grab your breath, because that was some of the most action-packed racing you will ever see here at Mount Panorama, and pretty fast for it as well. This was Oceanic Sim Racing GT1 Challenge. I've been David Haynes. Joining me has been Jay Kennedy. Next week, do join us on Thursday, 9:15 p.m. This series is going to Suzuka. Do subscribe here on SimSpeed Esports Network. Also, check out the website simspeed.tv. I think I'll have an article up there tomorrow recapping some of the bonkers action that was this race. And of course, there's plenty of other stuff to catch there as well about our broadcasts coming up and all the information you could need. So go over there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll bring you more action next week. Good night.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?